It's a very famous case. Kimberly Clark Sharp was the social worker who reported this particular one. This occurred in Seattle, Washington, and Maria was a migrant worker who had a heart attack and was sent to the hospital. It was Harborview Medical Center is where this took place. What happened was, while they were resuscitating her, while she was dead, she reports that she came out of her body, and as she floated out of the hospital, and as she looked down in the hospital, she saw outside of one of the third-floor windows a shoe. It was a man's tennis shoe. Now, it wasn't just that she saw a shoe outside the window. She described specifics about that shoe, because let me tell you, when people come out of their bodies, what they report is whatever you look at, you are able to laser in on. It's like you have telephoto lens. If you look at something, you see every detail. You look at your pants, you can look at everything. You see everything. And so when she looked at the shoe, she really saw the shoe. She described its color, dark blue. She said it was a man's shoe. She said that it was very worn. She said that one of the shoelaces was tucked under the heel, and that where the little toe is on the shoe, there was a scuff mark over the little toe area. So Maria, she goes on the third floor, and she looks out of every window on the third floor, and lo and behold, she finds it. But the shoe is faced away from her. She can't see the front of the shoe. Okay, and it's so far away she couldn't tell where the shoelace was. The only way to see the details that she saw, especially the scuff mark on the top of the shoe on the little toe side, was from above looking down. You can't see it from the ground. You can't see it from the window. All right, now, but for him to poo-poo that story and say, oh, please, we don't even know the name of the person who reported it. That's a lie. We do know the name of the person. We know that information. We know where it happened. We know when it happened. All right, there's nothing magical about that story. And now we have a lot of stories like that. I personally have stories better than that one. And he's going under the assumption that that's the only story we have. That's the best story we have. That story was 30 years old. We have many more stories than that. But see, that tells you how little he's looked at the issue. If he'd studied it, you'd realize. You go to www, I think it's NDE Research Foundation, NDE. Let's see, NDERF. Go to ndrf.org, I believe. And if you want to read stories, there's tons of them there, or you can buy one of the books.
In fact, that entire story is on that website.
It's stories all over the place because it's old. It was one of the first ones that really got people thinking about it. But we're way beyond that
so
story
it really
now.
goes to show how much we're really not paying attention and how much we're really not doing our own research and investigation to find out what the truth is.
Well, the people who are militantly against people who are militantly against this, it shows you what they do. Now, I'm not going to say that all evangelical atheists have adopted that position. Okay, Harris, for example, takes a different approach. Instead of being like Hitchens and say, "Oh, it's all just bull," none of it's real. He doesn't have that position. He says, you know what? He considers the possibility that extracorporeal human consciousness may be possible. It may be possible for consciousness to survive the body. Well, how do you do that without listening to their stories and realize, and when they're all talking about this God thing, what's up with that then? How does he explain that? Here's how he explains. I have a clip, so let's just take a look at the clip. Because
what is the clip?
This is Sam Harris. This is Sam Harris's explanation as to how consciousness can possibly survive the body. And he gives this, he says that this hypothesis is more plausible than what is described in religion. So let's go over, here it is.
Sam, what does it mean when you write that you think that consciousness may indeed survive?
Well, there are many odd ways in which consciousness could survive, and you can make a philosophically respectable argument that consciousness could survive the death of the brain. It's by no means the majority opinion in neuroscience or philosophy that it would. For instance, there's a philosopher at Oxford, Nick Bostrom. This is one of the weirder arguments, but still more plausible than the arguments you get from religion. Nick, there's actually very little you have to assume to make this.
So that was the hypothesis on the simulated, that was the
simulated, it's called the simulated universe hypothesis. And it's not that, you can tell that he's not really saying that he 100% buys into it. But what people along these lines are saying is, look, rather than believing in a supreme being who created the universe that we are responsible for, it is more likely that we are simply a member of a universe that is simulated. That people of the future, or aliens, have recreated the past on their hard drives, and we are simply characters on their computer.
Right.
That in the future, there are going to be more fake universes than real ones. Therefore, it's more likely that we are going to be part of one of the fake universes. So when we see people with things like Jesus of Nazareth, who raises from the dead and burns his image on the Shroud of Turin, and all that kind of stuff, when we see evidence for a resurrection, and even if you see Jesus coming back in the clouds, that is because the people who wrote this program were religious. And they have taken their religious fantasies and made them a part of our reality. And he's saying that that is more plausible than a supreme being.
Right, right. I thought that was pretty outstretched
Well,
myself.
it tells you on the fact that they are
hypothesis.
the fact that they are postulating these bizarre explanations to explain near-death experiences tells you how strong the evidence is. Because if the evidence stands as it is, they're done. I mean, they're finished. You can't maintain a reductionist view and have a soul at the same time. That's stupid. I mean, you're cutting your own throat. And you can't have it both ways. Either we have a soul and there is a supreme being, or there isn't.
Right.
And if we're just something that evolved from a frog 4 billion years ago, and that's all there is, and there's no soul, then fine. But you can't have it both ways. How do you evolve a soul? It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. I mean, where does that come from? I mean, that's not higher level physics. That's fantasy physics.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I do find that one thing that Hitchens mentioned is that as those who believe in God, and this point I thought was very interesting. Why not serve God for who he is and for what he is rather than consequences or rewards? And there are a lot of people who have faith and believe in God only because out of fear that there's a consequence or they're going to get something, there's a reward. I think that that's in the teaching.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of that is in the teaching.
I mean, I think they all make very nice points. I think one of the things that Harris mentioned too was that, you know what, because people are focused on God and God having a plan, they allow children to die of starvation every day and bad things happen. They say, well, you know what, that's okay. All the atrocities of man are okay because in the end, God let us in on the joke and everything will be fine. And therefore we can go on oblivious and not care about anything or anybody because guess what? God's got it under control. Now, the thing is, look, do you believe in eating?
Well, you have to.
Do you believe in food?
Yeah.
There are some people, and I treat them, who have anorexia. A very difficult thing to treat, by the way. Not one of my favorite maladies to treat, but I'm not an eating disorder specialist, so please don't come to my office. Okay, all right. It's not my favorite thing, but I do have patients who have it, and I try to help, and some things do help. Okay, so it's not hopeless, but there are some people that they associate food with sin. It's wrong. It's not morally wrong, but everything, a cracker. I have people, I prescribe medicine. They want to know how many calories are in the pills, okay, because they're so focused on not eating. All right, look, that's called an eating disorder. It's a delusional state. It's about the misperception involving food. There are people that have misperceptions about God. That's between them. That's not the problem. Near-death experiences say that there is a God. He seems very loving. He seems to know a lot about us. He's very intimate. He does care about what we do. There is a moral side to him. All right. Now, with regard to how God is presented by religious leaders, that's a separate issue.
Yeah.
It's just a separate issue. Yes, people have misused religion to control people, to extort money, and so forth and so on, yada, yada. They do that with everything. They do that. That's humanity. We are a flawed race.
This is what I wonder. What do you say to an atheist who is dying that doesn't believe in afterlife? I believe that there was one person who said there's nothing that you can say to a dying atheist. What hope do you give them? And I find that I hope that there was something in this program today that will be a relief to many people or will give thought to those who are undecided or that just don't know, or to many people who have not ever even explored what near-death experience is and afterlife as a result of it is. I'm hoping that this program today with your great insight will give some relief to people, at least so that people will start thinking?
Well, yeah, it's important. I think before they get to that point, it's important to do some thinking early on. I think that in studying the near-death experiences and listening to these stories, one thing that comes out, and I share this with my patients, is this. When people go into that light and they see that life review, when you're watching it, he's there watching it with you. And you know that. Now, it's not that you're speaking English necessarily, okay, but there is communication. As you see yourself, everything that you ever did, from the time you were born until you cross over, you see the panoramic view of the whole life. You see it. Now, as you're watching it, it's assessed whether it's pleasing or not pleasing to him, and you know that, okay? And I've got a lot of stories about what happens during that movie, okay? The things that you do out of the goodness of your heart, because you really care about somebody, because you want good for another, the things that you do to grow your education, to grow your relationship with God, the things that you do because it's the right thing to do, you sense His pleasure. You sense the goodness of it. You sense more of that, please. The things that you do out of anger, resentment, guilt, or not guilt, but, well, yeah, sometimes if it's inappropriate, fear, lust, greed, you know, I mean, you not only know how bad that is, you feel it intensely. You feel it intensely. You feel it the way he feels about it, okay? And which is, and you want to do better. And that's why when people come back after seeing that, they say, you know what? I don't want to live like that anymore. I want to completely change, because when I go back there the next time and I see that movie of my life, I want to see more of this and not so much of this.
So there is hope for a better life, even.
As long as you're breathing, there's hope. I
Yeah.
mean, once you finish it, it's like our brains are like radios. The real us is out there, okay? But this is the radio that picks up that frequency. And so I am communicated through this. When this thing shuts down, the real me comes out again.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, people who are blind, when they come out of their bodies, they can see again. They report sight, okay? People who are deaf can hear again. And so it's like the body, it confines us. You know, people when they come out of their bodies, they know a lot more when they're there. It's like they some of them say, it's like I understood the mysteries of the universe. But they come back in this stupid body here and they forget 98% of it, because we are confined to this organic shell. But the real us is not limited.
Thank you so much, Dr. Guy, for being with us again today.
My pleasure.
And this has been an eventful hour, an eventful part 3 and part 4, and I certainly hope viewers will appreciate the wealth of insight that was shared. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And we certainly hope to have you back with us again.
All right, thank you.